Welcome back to my channel. I am back with another review. So if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell so that you know every time I upload a new video. Thank you so much to everybody who has subscribed to my channel. I appreciate you all. And let's just get right into this review. So this episode picked up where the last one left off, where Jayla and Lex had their fight. And look, it was a weak fight. Like, both of them can fight, so I was confused as to why it wasn't good. Like, they were barely touching each other, and I definitely agree with Rolly when she said that it looked like they were playing patty cake, because it definitely did. I was disappointed in that fight between the two of them. I definitely thought that it would be better. But after the fight between the two of them was broken up, Ivori comes out of nowhere and she runs up on Lex, and the two of them start fighting with each other. And look, they keep up with one another. They both can fight, in my opinion. They ended up fighting 3 different rounds during this episode. The first round, I'm going to give that to Lex, because she definitely took over that fight, even though Ivori tried to run up on her out of nowhere. But the last 2 fights, to me, they kept up with each other. I think they're both good fighters. Like, they actually have real fights that we see, and they're actually entertaining to watch. But at the end of the day, I feel like the reason why Ivori keeps trying to fight Lex is because she hasn't won a fight against her yet. I'm not saying that Lex is just demolishing Ivori in every fight, but I'm saying she's keeping up with Ivori and she's getting a lot of hits in, and that's the reason why Ivori keeps wanting to fight her, because she hasn't won a fight yet with her. And after the final fight between the two of them was broken up, Ivori ends up going to Jayla and asking her if she has a knot on her head, and Jayla gets in her confessional and says that even though Ivori asked her, she was basically pretending like she couldn't see well. So she said that she didn't know if she had a knot on her head, but in her confessional she smiled and giggled and basically implied that there was a knot on Ivori's head. And there was a knot on her head. It wasn't big, it was a small one, but that definitely proves that she got hit pretty hard in her face. I mean, they both were connecting hits with each other. I'm not going to say either one of them won those fights, because to me, they were keeping up with one another. But Lex definitely is somebody that they underestimated. The reason why I'm saying that she was underestimated is because I think that Akbar V, Jayla, and Rolly thought that Jayla was going to win that fight against Lex when she walked into that room. They also thought that she was going to lose the fight with Ivori. And then when they watched the fight between her and Ivori, they realized that she actually can fight, because they said it in their confessionals. They ended up saying that, you know, Lex actually can fight. So they kind of changed their tune a little bit once Ivori leaves the room. To me, they were just being a little bit nicer to her and kind of seeing that she's not weak the way that they thought that she was. And so they start asking her how the beef between her and Ivori started in the first place, and Lex told the truth. She said they were on the bus, everybody else was fighting except for her, and that's when Ivori came for her and said that she was playing it safe. So when they got off the bus, Ivori wanted to fight her, so the two of them started fighting. What she's trying to figure out is why Ivori keeps trying to fight her, and the reason why Ivori keeps trying to fight her is because she underestimated Lex. She thought that she was just a pretty girl and that she couldn't fight, and she thought that she was just gonna dog walk her in the fights, and because that hasn't happened, that's the reason why she keeps wanting to fight her. Now, Natalie ends up gathering all the girls onto the Baddies bus, except for Ivori. I don't know where she was at this point, but she wasn't on the bus with the rest of the girls on the way to the club. But Summer is kind of funny. Like, I'm not a fan of her because she's kind of annoying, but at the same time, she's funny too. Because sometimes I feel like she be trolling. But she started getting on the bus talking about how she was unfazed by the girl that tried to snatch her up outside of the club last episode, which is really crazy that somebody who's not on the show is able to put their hands on somebody who is on the show. They've done that in past seasons, and I still think it's crazy that they allow that to happen. Security should have been protecting all the girls, and Summer should have never been touched, especially because Summer said this girl has been following her around. So I'm confused as to why security allowed that to happen. But Summer says that she's unfazed by it, and then she ends up bringing up Mariah, claiming that she took Mariah's job. And I mean, that was kind of funny because Mariah was not on this season. However, I don't think that it's right for her to mention somebody who's not actually there to defend themselves. Mariah's not there to fight her or defend her name, so I just didn't see the point in bringing up Mariah's name in the first place. Natalie made it seem like she called Mariah Lynn up on the phone and told her that Summer was talking about her. I don't know if Mariah was actually on the phone, but I know that Mariah has been on social media and said that she wishes that they would have put her on this season if she would have known that Summer was going to be there. Now, they're all at the club having a really good time despite all the fighting that was going on, and Ivori does actually end up showing up, which was kind of surprising to to me. She ends up showing up to the club and having a good time with the other girls, and Diamond the Body is definitely a fan favorite at the club because they were screaming for her to come on stage and talk. So she gets on stage, right, and she starts saying whoop that hoe, and all of a sudden there's fights breaking out at the club. Like, one girl is getting dragged in the corner, and then I think a few other fights ended up happening to the point where the baddies actually end up leaving. And before they leave, they get on the microphone and they start telling the girls that they didn't actually mean for them to fight each other. And it's like, you got to be careful what you say because people take things very literally. And so these girls were dragging each other in the corners of the club, so the baddies ended up leaving. Now the next day, Natalie gathers up all the OGs on the baddies bus so that they can go pick up all the new girls from the other house so that they can go do an activity that Natalie has planned for the day. And while the OGs are on the bus together, they start talking about all the fights that have happened so far. And then it comes to Scotty and Emma getting into a fight, and that's when Scotty decides that she's gonna call out Natalie. She starts basically calling Natalie a hypocrite because Natalie gets mad at Scotty for being cool with people that she doesn't like or get along with, but then she's able to be cool with people that, you know, Scotty doesn't get along with, because I think she said that Natalie's cool with DJ Sky even though they don't like each other. And then Scotty brought up the fact that Natalie actually said that she likes Emma, and so Scotty's basically trying to say that Natalie hangs with her ops, but if she hangs out with Natalie's ops, then it's an issue. So Natalie gets completely annoyed at Scotty for calling her out, so she starts calling Scotty weird and saying that she's going to make Emma a star just to spite Scotty. I don't know if Natalie's serious, but there's definitely some tension in the friendship between Natalie and Scotty. Recently, they had unfollowed each other and they said that they were not friends anymore, and then yesterday it seems like the two of them made up with each other, so I truly don't know what's going on in that friendship. To me, it's not a real friendship, it's just business, but who knows. And before Natalie and the OGs end up showing up to pick up the new girls, and Biggie, Tinkaa, and Diamond, who are also staying in the house with the new girls, they all sit down, all three of them, and have a conversation. And basically, Diamond the Body is feeling some type of way about Prettyp because Prettyp keeps wanting to fight her, and she really doesn't understand why, because it was just over a dirty look that Prettyp claims that Diamond gave her. But really, I think the reason why Prettyp is coming for Diamond is because she knows that Diamond was a fan favorite last season, and so she gets into a beef with her and their names are connected to each other. She thinks that she'll be a star this season, so I feel like she's clout chasing off of Diamond, and that's the reason why she came for Diamond over everybody else. But then Biggie and Diamond the Body start complaining about being in the house with the new girls even though they're OGs. And look, I don't think that Biggie should be in the house with the new girls because she has been on the show for a few seasons. However, Diamond the Body and Tinkaa, I don't think that it's a big deal for them to be in the house with the new girls because this is only their second season. But listen, I don't even like the fact that all the girls are in separate houses because I feel like that defeats the purpose of the show. Like Bad Girls Club, the fun was because they were all in the house together. They all had to be in the limo together. That's why it was fun to watch. This show, everybody's always completely separate from one another, so it takes the fun out of it a little bit. Now, at this point, all the girls are on the bus together on their way to do the activity that Natalie set up, but there ends up being a bunch of drama on this bus ride because Natalie ends up saying that she actually wants to do a song with some of the baddies, but she needs to make sure that it's people who can actually rap. And Rolly ends up giving her opinion and put emphasis on her opinion that she feels like Akbar is the best rapper on the bus. And look, Rolly raps as well, so the fact that she's giving credit to somebody else on the bus to me was admirable. But Biggie ends up getting upset about this. Now look, Biggie is the only person who's offended by this because every other girl on this bus raps too. Not all of them, but majority of the girls on this show have made a song before. So for Biggie to get so offended that they said that they felt like Akbar was the best rapper on the bus to me was insane because not everybody even said that. The only person who said that was Rolly, and Jayla kind of co-signed it, but nobody else said that. Akbar didn't even get on the bus and say that she was the best rapper on there, so I just really didn't understand why Biggie was so upset. But she actually started coming for Akbar, to be honest with you. She started basically saying that Akbar might have been the best rapper before, but now she's not, and she started saying that she's the best rapper, and she basically tried to call Akbar a nobody. That's what she was basically trying to do. So they started going back and forth with each other. Things started getting a little bit heated. I honestly feel like Biggie was being petty in this situation because nobody else on the bus who made music cared that they said that they felt like Akbar was the best rapper on the bus. She was the only one that got offended by that. So I didn't think it was that big of a deal. But Biggie was doing a lot of crying in last week's episode because of what she's been going through. And look, I definitely have sympathy for her. I do. However, she was telling Ahna and everybody that she did not want to fight and she was not going to fight this season, but yet she's running her mouth to somebody who might want to fight her. So look, if they end up getting into a fight in next week's episode, I don't want to see Biggie crying, saying that she's being bullied or that somebody's doing something to her, because if you don't want to fight this season, you should probably not run your mouth. Now, they end up showing up to a cider mill. I think that they were going to taste some apple cider, they were going to taste some donuts, and they were also probably going to pick some apples, but that never actually got to happen because as soon as the owner of the building got finished telling them what they were going to do and ended up asking them to split up into 3 different groups so that they can all do 3 different activities, that's when all of a sudden Dolly ends up going up to Ahna and she pushes her and tells her, don't act like we don't have any smoke. And I was confused by that because literally nothing has been happening between her and Ahna, and they're at this activity and all of a sudden she just pushes her out of nowhere. So they're in each other's faces at this point because Ahna's trying to figure out why Dolly keeps pressing her. And honestly, I want to know why Dolly keeps pressing Ahna too. Like, why out of all the girls on this show is Ahna the one that she wants to fight so bad just because Ahna told her that she needed to calm down at the auditions because she was fighting too many people and she didn't have to do that in order to get a ticket. And then she was upset because Ahna didn't want to give her her ticket even though she ended up getting one and getting on the show anyway. I'm just confused by Dolly at this point. So Tesehki sees Dolly and Ahna in each other's faces and she goes over there to try to figure out what's going on, and Ahna tells her that Dolly pushed her out of nowhere and wants to fight her. So Tesehki looks like she's trying to break it up, okay? She's trying to get them away from each other, but she pushes Dolly, okay? And here's where Tesehki went wrong, because if she was trying to break it up and she didn't want them to get into a fight, she shouldn't have pushed Dolly the way that she pushed her, because she pushed her kind of aggressively, and that's the reason why Dolly ended up tossing her drink into Tesehki's face. But she kind of messed up by doing that because she ended up getting her ass beat. I'm sorry, I know people said in the comment section that they felt like Dolly could take Tesehki. I have to see that for myself to believe that she can take Tesehki, because I have yet to see Tesehki lose a fight. And when she was fighting Dolly, it looked like she was beating her up. I'm sorry, she definitely was beating her up. People can say it's because Tinkaa threw a drink from the side in Dolly's face, and that could be true, but I'd have to see them run it again with each other in order to determine whether or not she could keep up with Tesehki or not, because from what I've seen in this episode, it didn't look like she could. And look, I do not agree with Tinkaa taking a drink and throwing it in Dolly's face, because she needs to mind her business, because at the very beginning of this episode, she went into the room where Lex was and was telling her that she needed to stay out of Jayla's problems that she has with other people because it had nothing to do with her, yet she got involved in this situation with Ahna, Tesehki, and Dolly. So she's kind of a hypocrite in my opinion, and she shouldn't have thrown the drink in Dolly's face. So I definitely do want to see Dolly get back at Tinkaa at some point this season, because that was messed up what Tinkaa ended up doing. Now, Tesehki was saying that she never had any intentions of fighting Dolly. She was just trying to push her away from Ahna. However, if you push somebody, their first instinct is to do something back to you. And because Dolly had a drink in her hand, that was her first instinct, was to toss the drink in Tesehki's face. She didn't know that Tesehki wasn't going to end up fighting her because of the way that she pushed her. So I just feel like that whole situation could have been avoided, but it wasn't. And Dolly was asking for a fight, and Ahna was saying that she didn't want to fight her, so she ended up getting the fight that she said she wanted, right? But when Dolly gets taken away so that she can be away from the rest of the group of people, Diamond the Body goes up to her and starts gassing her head up that she did fine in the fight and all that stuff like that. And I'm confused by Diamond, because I don't know if she's being genuine with Dolly or if she's trying to set the girl up, because Diamond the Body ended up having to fight Tesehki at the reunion, and she said that the only reason why she fought Tesehki is because the fans gassed her head up and made her feel like she could actually win a fight with Tesehki, and that's the reason why she did it. But she said that she regretted it because she ended up getting her lip busted, her tooth knocked out, and her face was all messed up. And so I'm confused as to why she would be doing the same thing to somebody else, knowing what happened to her when she fought Tesehki. So I don't know if Diamond was being genuine with Dolly. I'm not saying that Dolly would get completely beat up by Tesehki. She could probably keep up, but I would have to see that for myself. Now, while some of the girls are actually trying to enjoy the activities that Natalie set up, more girls start getting into it, because Natalie's group had Tinkaa and Prettyp on the same team, and we know that in last week's episode or the episode before that, the two of them ended up getting into a fight. So while they're walking into the store, Prettyp starts going off on Tinkaa, calling her ugly and calling her all types of names because she doesn't like Tinkaa, obviously, because they fought. And so Tinkaa gets so annoyed that at some point she ends up swinging on Prettyp and security breaks it up immediately. Now that was crazy to me because instead of doing all that talking, Prettyp should have swung on Tinkaa when she had the chance to, instead of waiting for Tinkaa to swing on her first, because she did end up getting hit in that situation and Tinkaa was never touched, because after Tinkaa hit Prettyp, security came and broke it up. So I just felt like she was doing too much talking. But all of a sudden, while Prettyp's back is turned, Diamond the Body comes out of nowhere and she runs like a bat out of hell and she hits Prettyp from behind once again. And look, I don't always agree with Natalie, but I agree with her with what she said in her confessional about Diamond the Body, because this is the second time that she ran up on that girl when she was not looking, and I don't like that. It's like, just ask the girl if she wants to fight and fight her head up. I don't understand the constant sneaking that Diamond is doing, because Diamond's not that bad of a fighter to be sneaking people, so I'm confused by why she keeps sneaking Prettyp and not just fighting her. But Prettyp starts running over there where security is holding Diamond, and she's holding on to Diamond the Body's hair and not letting go. But eventually security is able to break up that fight. Now, they really didn't even get to fight each other, to be honest with you. So I don't even know why I called it a fight, because they never actually got to touch each other. Diamond the Body ran up and hit her in the side of the face, and security immediately scooped her up. And the only thing that Prettyp was really able to do was pull Diamond the Body by the hair. What I don't like is what Summer did, because she just saw Prettyp get into it with two different people, and then all of a sudden she runs over there and she wants to fight Prettyp now. And to me, that was weak of Summer. I'm not saying Summer's scary, but that was weak to go after the girl after she just got into it with two other people, when you could have fought her earlier or you could have fought her later on in the day. I just don't understand why she waited until two other people were trying to fight her. To me, that was weird. So after all the activities were ruined, everybody gets on the Baddies bus. Some of the girls were split up from each other because obviously they can't control themselves when they're around each other. But the girls that were on the bus were having a kiki because Scotty decided that she was going to play with Emma. Emma was in the back of the bus eating where nobody could see her, and Scotty realized that nobody has really heard from Emma or really seen her throughout the entire episode. And so she felt the need to have a gotcha moment on Emma, because Emma wanted to fight Scotty because she said that Scotty was boring. However, Scotty made a note to say that at least she parties and has a good time with the other girls instead of just fading in the background and not talking to anybody. So that's the reason why she decided to, call Emma out. So Emma comes from the back and the two of them start arguing with each other. And look, I think Scotty's funny and I think that it's cute that she wanted to have a gotcha moment on Emma. However, I need to see that footage of the fight between the two of them in last week's episode that we really didn't get to see because they were playing with those cameras. That's what I want to see. I don't want to hear nothing from Scotty about Emma until we see that footage from that fight. But look, things get crazy at the end of this episode, because as soon as Dolly and Summer get back to the house, they start hyping each other up. They're kicking their shoes off, ripping their wigs off, ready to fight whoever comes into the door. So Prettyp ends up walking into the door and she runs in there and she immediately runs up on Summer, and the two of them start fighting. Now look, it was not a good fight to me. Neither one of them looked like they hit hard. They look like they just swing and hope that one lands, and that's the way that they fight to me. But Summer ends up falling back, and while she's falling back, she's holding on to Prettyp's hair. So that's pretty much how the fight between the two of them went. And so security ended up breaking that up. Now Dolly ends up fighting Prettyp at the end of this episode too, but we didn't get to really see it because the episode ended there, but we will get to see it in next week's episode. But I will say Dolly is being a little bit of a hypocrite, because she said that Tesehki was wrong for fighting Ahna's battle with her, but then she ended up getting involved in issues that Prettyp has with Summer. So I was confused by that a little bit, but we'll get to see the rest of the fight in next week's episode. There's also a bunch of other fights that happen next week, so I'll talk to you guys in next week's episode.